Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to a very, very special show. We have a extremely significant guest today on the show, someone who I've long admired and I've long wanted to have him on the show. Please welcome founding member, guitarist, and vocalist from Wishbone Ash, Mr. Andy Powell. Welcome to Sea of Tranquility, Andy. So happy to have you here.
Lovely to be with you, Peter. Thank you so much.
Andy and I have been kind of talking on and off for many, many years, and I've long wanted to get him on the show. And what better time to have him here on Sea of Tranquility celebrating a great new release, Coat of Arms. That's kind of what it's all about. You know, we got to promote the new music and some really, really great new music. So, but before we kind of get into the new album, I was wondering if you could kind of take us back a couple of years. So, prior to Coat of Arms, you guys released Blue Horizons back, around 2014. And you had in the band, along with Joe Crabtree and Bob Skeet, you had Muddy Mannanen, I believe is how you say his name.
Yeah, his real name is Yerky. But
Yerky, okay.
But yeah, Muddy was, we always called him that, yeah. And he was the second of a line of Finnish guitar players.
And was with the band for quite a while. I mean, he was...
a long time, in excess of a decade, in fact, yeah.
Wow, that is a long time. So maybe you can kind of go back a little bit to around that time and take us through to Muddy leaving the band, the reasons why, and kind of talk a little bit about Mark Abrams or Abraham, how does he say it?
Abrams, yeah.
Abrams, yeah. So how did you find him, and when did he join, and kind of leading all up to Coat of Arms, if you could?
Yeah, these things, it's strange, you know, Muddy and I and the band had a really creative relationship. And right off the bat, when he joined the band, the first album we did was up in Finland at his base. I flew up there and I got into Finnish culture, which was just really odd. And met him and some of his friends, and because I wanted to know him, you know, because when you're in a band, you're making music together, but you've also got to kind of get on together. You've got to live together, and that's quite a cultural shift there. You know, I mean, I'm British, but I'm also American too. I'm dual citizenship, so I have a kind of that kind of attitude, and then. Finland, I knew Ben Granfeld, of course, because he'd been in the band for 4 years. He was our other Finnish guitar player, but he's Finnish-Swedish, so it's a bit different. So Muddy went up there, and they took me to the oldest sauna in Finland, in Helsinki, which was quite an experience. So I got slapped around in the sauna, in the hottest sauna I've ever been in my life, and we drank, and and then we spent the week just sitting at his kitchen table writing songs, and that produced the first album, which was that we did together, which was Clandestiny, and then from there on we went out on the road together and had a great relationship for, I think it was nearly 12 years, in fact, and many fun times together. So, but at the end of it, I think he was getting itchy feet. He was doing things on the side, and he wasn't being fully forthcoming about it. I never have a problem about anyone doing other things, because musicians need to vent, and they need to get these ideas out, and they also need other sort of, we're not always working. There are sometimes when you need another stream of income or whatever. And
but Wishbone Ash is a like busy touring band. I mean, during normal times, right? Yeah,
it is, but perhaps he needed to express himself in other ways. He was mixing with a lot of, he moved to England. That was a big thing, actually, moving over to England for him. And he was flying out to LA, and he was doing stuff that we weren't really a part of. And I just called him one day and I said, I don't think you're really digging it anymore. And he kind of agreed. And in the end, it was a little contentious, but it was also like a come to Jesus kind of meeting, you know?
Sure.
And sometimes when people they want to move on, they don't always want to tell you that, but it's making everything difficult. So I'm a confrontational kind of person. I'm a dive in the deep end. I don't like stuff to be hanging in there in the air. So that's how that went down. And then afterwards, it kind of calmed down, and we met actually at Bob's wedding. Bob got married, and we saw each other there. And I think he's doing a number of different projects, which is what he wants to do. He did a solo album directly after leaving the band, so that was quite a body of work to get straight into.
Well, he's a talented player, and no doubt he's going to find lots of work and do plenty of projects. So, not surprised to hear that.
Yeah, he's a very creative guy. Very creative, and I think he needed to do it because we were doing albums maybe every 3 or 4 years. So, and then the rest of it is on the road graft, which is the same for a lot of bands. Everyone knows the action is on the road, and you've got to be a road dog. I'm a road dog, so I don't really think about it. I love the studio too. I think Muddy was more as one of those guys who would love to spend more time doing that.
Yeah, the road is not for everybody. That's I hear that all the time.
Well, now in this current lockdown scenario, it's very interesting because I'm really sort of thinking about the road, and I'm realizing all the numerous hoops that we have to jump through to be on the road. When you're just doing it all the time, you don't really analyze it too much. So this has been an extremely strange scenario to be. What are we now? Well, I'm in my 9th week of lockdown.
So it's funny you bring that up because that was actually one of my later questions. We might as well discuss it now. So obviously, obviously the coronavirus has affected live music globally, right? So for a busy touring band like Wishbone Ash, who has a new album that they want to promote on the road, so how do you think this is all going to work? Have you thought about maybe doing some live stuff over the internet, or do you anticipate maybe hopefully in a couple months going out there to play live somewhere? Are there anything like happening behind the scenes right now that you can?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, I mean, like all bands, we had to restructure. Well, the whole summer was booked. So right now I should have been in France and Holland and doing things and festivals. Summer's all about festivals, right? So those all got, we were booked for the Ottawa Blues Festival. We were supposed to go to Corsica and play a fantastic guitar festival there, which we've been trying for about 5 years. Got accepted this year. We're like, no. The weird build up to it was, the good thing is that we completed the album. We did tons of promo for that. And it was getting all the reviews. So all of that we got all that under our belt before lockdown. And then we went on a US tour, which was all the way through the South and up to the West. And it was really bizarre because the thing was just starting to break. We flew straight from Germany, where I got really sick. I think I may have even had it, but my wife and I got really sick there. But we didn't get a diagnosis, but we actually, for one of the first times in my life, I had to cancel 4 shows there, which was, I had this, like the corona type cough. Right. The whole thing lasted 6 weeks. It was hell. Still battled through, got over, started the US tour in Florida. So it's warm weather. It was a little bit more benign. Got to New Orleans, and that's when it started following us. And about a week after we left New Orleans, that was my birthday down there. It was amazing. It hit New Orleans because it was like the week before Mardi Gras. And then we'd move across Texas, and it was following us. Then we got to California. We started to see the numbers started. And the final date was in Seattle. So Washington was a hot spot, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So the club up there, the two places we played up there, Tacoma and Seattle, they were begging us to complete the dates. We don't know. How safe is it up there? We've had 5 bands cancel, this week. We're really, if you can make it, we'll make everything sanitized. We finished the date, long story cut short, got back home, and then everything just came down.
That's it.
So, so I feel good that we got all the PR for the album done. We did Germany, a lot of people got to hear it, and we got all the reviews and all the rest of it. So, now we're going to work it on our live date, but that's been suspended somewhat.
Sure.
So that's unfortunate. So a couple of things. The dates have been restructured to next year, the festival dates. and we are due to kick off a US tour in the Midwest and the East Coast in September.
See how it goes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then directly after that, straight to the UK for a 1-month tour, which is solid, and that runs into November, and then we've got Christmas, and we see what happens. And then it's Germany in January. We kind of do this pattern every year. So that's, we're looking into other things. I've done online interviews and things like this, and actually playing live as a band. I know some people are doing it. It's tricky. The technology is not great. I love the Dave Grohl quote. He did an article in the Atlantic magazine, and he said, "So now my entire career has been distilled to a Ring doorbell video camera." Yeah. And I just almost fell off my chair when I read that. But it's kind of like that, especially for rock. If you're a singer-songwriter, yeah, I could pick up a guitar and sing.
But when you got all these members, right, and everybody's on their own cameras and what have you, yeah, that's what everybody has to do.
It's the sort of physical thing. So, but yeah, there are possibilities, and of course, this is forcing all musicians to explore those.
Sure.
Definitely.
So now that you've had this extra time, even though the album is brand new, practically, have you written anything new for possible, down the road a little ways?
Well, I'm an early morning bird, so I get up in the morning, and that's when I'm the most creative. So I'll pick up my iPhone, and I just have a simple little. I make it simple as possible. I don't get into a demo studio. I just tingle away on, and I put things down on my voice memo on my thing. And I was listening to some 4 or 5 really interesting ideas there, because I just tinker. And then the rest of the time, I got really in all my guitars and stringing them all up and getting familiar with them, because I only carry 2 or 3 on the road and keep stuff over in Europe as well. So I've been having a lot of fun just checking out guitar sounds. A lot of stuff. It's the kind of thing that a lot of guitar players do that aren't road dogs. They're always tinkering. If you're on the road all the time, that's a real luxury, to grab a guitar and go, hey, let's just try setting it up differently. And so I've really been enjoying that, actually.
Yeah. I saw you, was it yesterday, 2 days ago? I saw a little video on Facebook where you're playing. Is that the Paul Reed Smith behind you that you were playing?
Yeah, I just picked up that real Paul Reed Smith and a semi-acoustic. I'm getting into semi-acoustic guitars. Yeah, that was just, let's see how this thing
That was kind of cool, because, I know you always, for the most part, playing the Vs. And I see you have a few. So which is your favorite V? I see a couple behind you.
Well, the classic, the 67.
There you go. Yeah.
Is the one that I played all the Argus album with. So this is, I bought this. I bought that in 1972. And
it's
it was
immaculate shape, Andy. Holy smokes. Oh.
So, and then I have a beautiful replica of it, which is back there. And then I just got this one. I used to have a couple of the old 50s Vs. So I've got this one, which is actually, again, a facsimile of one of those. Beautiful guitar.
It is.
And, and so, the Vs are big with me, but also Telecasters. This is an interesting one somewhere. Where is it? Where has it gone? Oh, here it is. This has been pretty much on every Wishbone Ash album. This is a 1952 Telecaster, and this actually belonged to. Oh, you got one too?
I just got this. This is American.
Nice.
American Professional. Yeah, it's beauty.
Yeah, it looks good. They're making good guitars right now, Fender.
They are.
So this was 52, and this little baby actually belonged to Roy Buchanan.
Oh, wow.
So it's
look at that neck. You could feel the love in that neck.
Oh yeah, it's got a lot of patina on it. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Probably cigarette butt mark or 2.
Okay, it was Roy. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So that one's been on pretty much every Wishbone Ash album. It's a beast. This thing.
Wow.
Don't get any more simple than a Telecaster. If you can play a Telecaster, you can play any electric guitar. I think. It's not an easy guitar to get a sound out of. Yeah. But when they do, when they start barking, they sound great.
Wow, our viewers are getting a nice taste of some history here. That's very cool. Very cool. So
you were mentioning about Mark, right?
Yeah. So how did Mark come to join the band?
Well, we had known him because he comes from Yorkshire in the north of England, and we had known him for years and years and years. He started playing guitar when he was 9, and his father was a Wishbone Ash fan. I think I may have written to him a couple of times. But Mark ended up owning and running a music store in the north of England. I mean, every time we would be up in the Leeds area, he'd help us out with gear and stuff, you know, spares, strings. And so I knew him in that context. I knew he was a good guitar player, and I knew he played a lot up in the north, but I didn't really know how good he was. You know, I just knew he was good and he was cool. And I got on well with him. And so anyway, it just transpired that I just started checking him out once I knew this change was occurring. And he sent me a couple of videos. I don't know how we got chatting on Facebook or something like that. And I was blown away with his live work. I thought, woo, tasty, you know. And then one night he came to a show. He was still in the band. And I was at the side of the hotel reception. It was a big hotel in Leeds. And everybody was partying. He was partying with his friends who came visiting. And myself and Bob were partying with Mark and his girlfriend. And we just got righteously drunk. I found he liked Scotch whiskey. So that was game over, you know. And it was a really funny evening. And I don't know, it just somehow, it happened. Do you think, could you imagine? You know, and he could imagine. He said, I'm sick of this store I'm running. I'm going to wind it up. I love to travel. I'd love to be on, yeah. One thing led to another, and that was it.
There you go.
Straight in with the new album. And I have to say, it was just a really fun experience working with him.
I mean, you know, the pairing of you guys really works. And for me, and I read a lot of other reviews, people who have commented that the new album has a lot in common with some of the more recent albums, very good, solid, bluesy, catchy, bluesy rock. But then there are plenty of moments that kind of take you back to the first album and Argus and those kind of majestic, epic flights of guitar heaven that are captured within songs like the title track and It's Only You I See and We Stand As One, which is a terrific song and probably one of the catchiest songs you guys have done in a while, that like you hear it the first time and all those kind of little guitar licks and what have you just kind of like suck you right in. And, you know, is it because of new blood in the band? I mean, just how does that happen where all of a sudden just magic happens?
But we had a couple of years on the road together. Mark's first gig was Sweden Rock, was 50,000 people. We threw him right in the deep end, and then we never stopped. And we knew we were going to do another album, you know. But we just wanted to get him road worthy first, and he took to that like a duck to water. But yeah, I mean, obviously, new blood in the studio. New ideas, definitely is a big one. You know, I mean, I've had quite a few guitar partners, and it's always the same. You know, there's that big burst of, you know, they want to prove themselves, that, you know, I'm sparking off them. I mean, my role now is I write, of course I write, you know, but you know, I'm very good at producing music from people. Like you mentioned that song We Stand As One. Mark started playing the riff. You know, it's one of those things, you sit down in a room like this and you go, what you got? And wow, I got this little riff that I think, okay, how's it go? And you know, you're almost embarrassed to show it. But, you know, as a listener, you can tell whether the main riff in that song, for example, I just hit me like, that is like earworm. That's earworm stuff, you know. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. I said, let's develop that. You know, let's turn it into a twin lead thing. That's really good. So, you know, I'm really good at jumping on ideas like that. And so that's kind of like production, really. I mean, musicians tend to do that. They produce things from each other, you know.
Well,
like,
it takes a lot of pressure off of you, so you don't have to do everything, right?
Well, you can't do everything, you know.
Right.
And I love being band. I love bands. I love the whole interaction of bands. And I think on this album, as you said, you know, there's a genuine interaction. And because he'd been playing our music, he learned guitar playing our music. So their style is intrinsic to who he is and what he is. So he's like duck to water. It's natural for him to play like that. And it was beautiful for me because there was no learning curve. I mean, I've been with other guitar players in this band, I think the biggest learning curve, and I'm amazed now when I look back that we actually made it happen, was with Laurie Weissfeld, which was after Ted Turner, the original guitar player, left after 4 years, just started cracking in America, and Ted was like, I can't do this anymore, I'm gone. And so we had to bring in another guitar player, it's Laurie Weissfeld. That was a huge stylistic change, both for him and for me. I mean, he'd been in a country style influenced band. He was a picker, been in a band called Home.
Yep, very good band, actually, yeah.
Yeah, but we made that work. So I thought if I could make that work and he can make it work, it is possible. You always, but sometimes it's a bigger learning curve. That with Mark, it was beautiful. And as a guy too, easygoing guy.
I will say, in knowing the Wishbone Ash catalog fairly well, Laurie Weissfeld is a terrific guitar player. Yeah. And I think that those albums he worked on in the band are massively underrated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them, because he was with the band for how many years?
Money, actually.
Right, exactly. And a lot more records, right? Because you guys were pumping them out pretty quickly. And whenever I talk to folks who like Wishbone Ash, but mostly always seem to center on those, first couple of albums, it's like you really need to give the Laurie Weissfeld era albums a chance because they're really terrific albums. And I think you guys really worked well together. And it's just interesting to hear from you how it was a bigger learning curve having him in the band. But I think the results kind of show otherwise.
Yeah. Well, we had a massive work ethic. We were younger. I mean, also the business was so different. I mean, record companies, record labels, managers, A&R people, they're flogging bands. We worked. I mean, that's why I have a work ethic now, I think, because in those days we were worked until we dropped, basically, and of course, the music kind of, there's nothing like being patronized by a record label. People think, oh, he's just putting it, they're putting out an album. There are some bands that just put an album out when they feel really ready, like Pink Floyd, maybe every 8 years or 10 years. It wasn't like that with bands on our level. It was like, we need an album. We need it now. We need another one. You just done one a year ago. We need one now. So there was none of that. It was just like, get in the studio. Let's go. Tours are booked. Things are, but that kind of pressure is really good for musicians because it's like you have only one thing to do, and that's to produce. So,
sure.
Yeah. So it was a good era. I mean, it was. He did a fantastic job because it was a tough thing to do. The band was globally known, and we had that huge album August. He came in. We didn't have another album as big as that, but we did some incredible stuff. And for guitar players, they'll tell you every time that it was a great era.
Sure. So, I mean, that kind of brings us to my next question. So, the influence of Wishbone Ash, very great. Okay, a lot, especially among musicians and guitar-oriented bands, so many throughout the years, whether it be hard rock or metal or progressive rock, have cited Wishbone Ash as a major influence, the dual guitar thing, big time, right? But you guys were very hard to kind of pigeonhole into a box, so to speak, or, category. Are they hard rock? Are they blues? Are they progressive rock? Are they folk rock? Do you think, looking back on your career, that because you had so much variety in your music, not only on each album, but album to album, that may have kind of hurt your success a little bit, do you think?
Okay, that's a great question. It's a double-edged sword, right? Mm-hmm. So as far as like A&R, record label, having a definitive style, maybe confusing a little bit to the audience, That's why I think in some way our fan base now, the community, as I call it, the clan, they kind of know that. They know that we're esoteric, From a personal standpoint, it was fabulous because, you weren't constricted. So you could get into a little bit of jazz. And also, don't forget, we came from even though the band was formed in 1969, all of our influence was that mid to late 60s thing when bands were like that.
Sure.
Bands were eclectic, if you took West Coast bands or blues band, like a band like, say, Fleetwood Mac. I mean, It was quite. They also did quite a lot of varied stuff. You know, at the time, Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac I'm talking about, which
Sure,
was
sure.
those were our heroes. You know, so that we came from that era, that kind of mindset where you could be a little bit more eclectic, and also we were seeking for. I think we were seeking out 3, 4, 5 different avenues that we could mine. You know, as a band that would keep us. We wanted longevity. And so it's worked in some way. We've been under the radar, and it's given us longevity. But we didn't have that over-the-top success that may have shattered the whole thing. Conversely, you know, like if we'd been a singles band, I think we would have been more rooted in a particular decade, and people would have known us. I mean, Thin Lizzy was another twin lead guitar band, great front man, very definitive style. They're known by their singles. You know, Wishbone tends to be known more for its albums.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to delve a little bit deeper into our stuff. And you know, as we were able to be a little bit more selfish with the music, it was obviously very rewarding to, I mean, we probably, you know, we didn't compromise too much. We did what we wanted to do.
And that's a good thing, I think. You know, I think when fans kind of look back on your career, maybe when it's all said and done, they'll appreciate that. And I personally like bands who kind of mix it up quite a bit and don't pigeonhole themselves into one particular sound.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, I'm jumping in there. Sorry, I thought your breakdown of our career when you went through all the albums was right on. I mean, you got it right on the money. I mean, I was blown away actually. Because you know, a band like us has been together for this many decades. You can't have the ups without the downs. And sure, if you've got that much artistic freedom, you know, you're going to go down some avenues, and you're going to go, whoa, come back again. And I think the last 2 or 3 albums that we've done, we've come back into what is our definitive style. I mean, at this point now, I don't even have to think too much about the avenues that we're going to go down when we're writing an album. I know there's going to be, you know, a mellow song or two. I know there's going to be a proggy thing or two. You know, it's going to last 8 minutes. I know there's going to be obviously a blues basis to it, blues and folk blues basis to it, and of course there's going to be twin lead guitar. So it's just what we do.
Yeah, and you guys do it well. So I want to mention, I know we're running low on time. I did want to give a plug. I know it's been out for a few years now, but you released a great book called Eyes Wide Open back in 2015, I believe, which I reviewed on the channel and I reviewed on the website as well. And I thought it was one of the most enjoyable kind of rock autobiographies I've read in a while, because I thought it was just so honest. What was the feedback you got on the book? And I mean, it's told the whole story of the band really well, the ugly parts as well as the great parts. And I think it needed to be told. I mean,
thank you. The feedback's been great. I've had no majorly negative reviews. And most people have said, like, you're honest, straightforward. I work with a co-writer, a guy called Colin Harper, who's a former British journalist, been in a lot of papers over there. And the way we did it was he would interview me and then transcribe. And then in addition to that, I would write in my hand certain chapters that were a little bit more personal. So, you know, and the great thing about working with someone like that was he was able to contextualize everything because he's a fantastic cataloger of popular culture, much like yourself. You know, I mean, he's just a voracious listener to music and has written many books. And you know, if I got confused about what was going on in the mid 70s, he'd say, "Well, that was the new wave of British heavy metal or whatever."
Yep.
So that was what was going on there, and that would trigger me to then start going off. And so it's great it's like working with a mentor or a teacher. And so, but he was basically just recording tons of material and collecting and collating and putting it all together. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Writing a book, not easy.
I can imagine.
Writing an album is very difficult. It's you put your heart on the line, your soul on the line, your lyric writing, your production, your guitar playing. It's scary stuff, you know. But I like that kind of fear factor that goes into an album. Writing a book was that and more, you know.
Yeah.
But it was huge relief when it was done. And as you say, you know, I had to catalog the nastier bits that, you know, every band has got these kind of difficult phases and stuff, and I had to do it in an even-handed manner because, you know, obviously I'm one subjective member of what has been a very big story.
Sure.
So it was hugely rewarding, you know. Well, not financially, I might add.
Well, yeah, I
that's
get
not
that.
the point. No. But, you know, it was cool, you know. I mean,
well, the story needs to be told. I mean, that's what it is.
It was just great to do.
I have to give you kudos because I know that you said the nasty bits, right? I think most folks who know about Wishbone Ash know what went on. But I think that, you know, you could have gone in a couple different ways. And I think you were very fair. You were very honest and classy about it. And it was not, I mean, I've read other books where it's like the author slags the former members and whatever problems came up. You didn't do that. And I thought that was really good.
No, I didn't want to do that. No,
it wasn't really necessary. It's just like, here's my perspective on what happened, and we moved on, right? I mean, that's
everybody's got their own perspective, you know.
Yeah.
On you know, this was obviously the main bone of contention was the name, and you know, I'd never stopped doing it, so that was my subjective perspective, and it was just actually fascinating in court, which we ended up in the High Court in England, to get the other guy's perspective, and it's just hugely apparent to me that they had made a lot of assumptions, but they'd been out of business for so long that they were kind of stuck in time, fixed in time, and so much had gone on, so much water had gone under the bridge. I'd gone through so many trials and tribulations with the band and the name and everything. So yeah, I had to lay that out in the book, and I felt I did it pretty even-handed. I didn't gloat. I didn't, you know, there's nothing. It's tough. That stuff's tough, you know. But people make decisions in life, and then you generally have to kind of stick by it and live by it. And I think my position is I didn't actually make a lot of those decisions because I simply didn't quit. I didn't leave, which is hugely annoying for some people. Like, oh God, you know, because we didn't break up as a band.
We just kept going, yeah.
People
picked up the mantle and just kept going with it, right?
They left piecemeal.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting situation. It wasn't like, hey guys, let's call it a day, or one person didn't come to the rest of us and say, I think we should call it a day. You know, it wasn't like that. It was like, I'm leaving, I'm gone, I'm out of here. And that happened several times. And so there I was like, well, I'm not ready to be out of here. I see a lot of potential here. And I like this lifestyle, and I like this, and also the fan community, you know, I'm connected to that.
Yeah.
I'm not disconnected to it. So that's another thing about the whole thing. You know, I'm in a band of this, you know, decades worth now. It's so much more than it is the music primarily. Don't get me wrong, but it's all these connections, and it's this lifestyle, and then it's the community. You know, we're not exactly the Grateful Dead, but we have a very important community, and I call it feeding the beast. I'm always feeding the beast. You're feeding the beast. You know. Of music in general, you know, it's like this stuff's too important to let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And I'm sure for you see Wishbone Ash continuing on for a good amount of time, right? I mean, that's
well, I don't pre-plan it too much. I do see it going on for a while. You know, coronavirus notwithstanding.
Notwithstanding, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know. This, you know, I mean, our generation's had an incredible run. If you think about it, you know, we're around the same age. We're baby boomers. You know, we've not had a domestic war, which our parents had on their doorstep, and they went off to fight in, you know, Europe. And we've lived through the boom times, incredible boom times, and we've had every amazing technological advantage and freedom that you can think of. And so, yeah, I like that. I'm very, very mindful of that. And it's been an incredible ride, you know, for all of us. You know, I mean, I'm looking at your stash of music back there. It's just, it's the 20th century.
Yeah,
And
I've got almost a whole shelf of Wishbone Ash. Almost an entire shelf dedicated to you, Andy.
That's cool. Wow. Put away.
So I got like one last question before we kind of tie things up for you. So I often get into this discussion with other fans of Wishbone Ash. Live dates or live dates too? Which you like better?
Oh man, that's so difficult. Before I tell you that, I have to tell you this little story.
Sure.
We were in Canada. I'm trying to think, Calgary, on a tour a couple of years ago. And they have their equivalent of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But Canada's produced some incredible music, as you know. Phenomenal songwriters, Joni, Neil Young, I mean, great bands. And I forget the name of this place, but it's their center for music, and it's a big building, 5 stories or something like that. And we had a day off up there, we're playing up there, and we heard about this place. We got Joe, our drummer, actually organised. We went there, and we started looking around. We had a great time, and got talking to one of the I guess custodians, and there was an exhibit that was about to open on the 5th floor, and it was the Rolling Stones mobile truck, which the museum had acquired. And they kept this thing, it was in Moscow, and that was the truck where we recorded the album, the first album on, I'm not sure about the second one, I can't remember, but certainly, and they said, it's not ready for the public yet, but since you're Wishbone Ash and you're here and you recorded on that very truck, we're going to take you up there, and it's just as it was. It's sitting up there. We hauled it up to the 5th floor. I can't believe it. And there it was. We went in. I walked into the truck. Everything was exactly the same. The machines were there. All the, you know, what was cutting edge technology at the time was looking kind of 70s rinky dink a little bit, but really amazing. And I'm like, and then, you know, there's like the foam on the ceiling that's starting to crumble. And I'm like, and this truck had done something like, it had done about 2 or 3 million miles all over the United States, Europe, and they brought it back. Somehow it ended up in Soviet Union. And I don't know what they paid for it, but so based on that, I'd have to say the first album, because I remember that experience of going into that truck, and they were running 2 24-track machines at the same time, like, because you couldn't get all the music on one 24-track. There'd be a certain point in the set, you'd have to flip over to the next machine, and all of that came flooding back. So there were, on that emotional level, you know, the first one probably, but the second one is damn good. It's damn good.
I gotta tell you, I prefer the second one a little bit more.
Yeah.
The first one has the more iconic songs on it, but I think the second one, you guys were on fire during those recordings.
We were, yeah. There's a lot of meat in that particular second album, that's for sure. And so. But seeing that truck, yeah, it's just amazing. It's so great that people get their hands on this stuff and save it.
Well, it's a piece of history, right?
Like Roy Buchanan's guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
All right, so now that you got the guitar in your hand, would you like to play like a 20-second classic Wishbone Ash riff for everybody?
I haven't got an amplifier, but
that doesn't matter. Well, we can hear it.
Or a pick. You know that one? Oh. You know,
awesome.
Guitar players love that because they can hear it and they can learn it. Some of us, you know, sometimes the simpler the song or the piece of music, or the intro to in that case to that song, the better, because you got to get this music across in a big stadium. So nothing. That's a simple little thing served me very well.
Absolutely.
Throw down a sword.
Yeah,
It is.
exactly. Classic stuff. Well, thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate this. Was a blast. Thanks for coming on Sea Tranquility and spending some time with us. And
Yeah, this is great.
hopefully in the future we have you on again when we got some more news in the Wishbone Ash camp to share. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
right.
best of luck to you with hopefully the tour dates happen for you and things clear up and we can go see you out on the road. And hopefully I'll have to check the dates. I'm pretty sure you guys are doing a date near me. Are you still doing Daryl's house? Is that being rescheduled?
Daryl's house will be on the schedule. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's only about 40 minutes from my house.
Is it?
Yeah.
You've been there, obviously, right?
No, I have never been there. Believe it or not.
I'll tell you what, it is probably one of the finest sounding rooms in the United States. They did an incredible job on the sound and the visual in that place, and it's a beautiful sounding room. Every band, every musician that plays there, they always say, "Gosh,
Well, it's very intimate." So and that's what people love about it.
Daryl Hall's sound guy, Peter, he designed the place. Yeah, it's intimate, small, but it's a great sounding room. So we always enjoy that one. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I got to make sure I don't miss it. So
okay.
So thanks again to Andy Powell from Wishbone Ash. Remember, please go out and check out Coat of Arms, the fantastic new album on SPV Records. All right, you will not regret it. It's a great mix of blues rock, a little bit of prog, and some folk, and just good old rock and roll, some boogie as well. So fantastic stuff. Going to be definitely one of my favorites of the year. Andy, thanks so much. Take care. Everybody visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Don't forget to go check out my ranking of the Wishbone Ash albums, studio albums, which I did probably, 3 weeks ago. We've also done a Wishbone Ash top 10 song show last year sometime, so go into the playlist and check that out. So again, for Andy Powell, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow. Andy, take care.
Thanks for the support. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Andy.